blessed the earth. We was married in the village church, our wedding scene just like a dream come true. So many years have come and gone, but still our love is true and strong as when I found her long ago. And still the bluebirds sing of loving every hour. That I'm married to my flower. We'll be happy ever after. As since the day we met, now we're older, love grows sweeter. We grow fonder of each other. We'll be sweethearts close together until the end of time.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Where'd the old town go? They moved it all north of here in the shopping mall.
Good morning and welcome to Old Town Cleveland here on WOOP FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.woopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. And Deb, tell us about today's program.
Good morning, everyone. Today is April the 5th, 2014, and right before the show, we decided this is about our 250th show. And so that's why...
But who's counting?
But who's counting, and after a while, they all start running together. We have our... Well, I won't call him our old friend. We'll call him our longtime friend, Larry Presswood, with us today. And if you grew up in the East Cleveland community, or if you knew anyone that grew up in the East Cleveland community, now's the time to call them to tell them to tune in, because we're going to be talking about Wallace Reimers and Dooley's and the skating rink and maybe the bootleggers that were over in the East Cleveland community, and it'll be a fun show. And
Allen School.
Wonderful days.
A lot of things
in the East Cleveland area.
Maybe even talk about the Ever Ready Cafe.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
I want you folks that are out driving today, be very careful. We're having a bike ride for Habitat, I believe, this morning, and so watch out for the bike riders. And there's a policeman on every corner in Bradley County this morning.
And I believe up at the Ace Hardware, they're having a Red Cross event, I believe it is, and they've got all the police and fire are out there. They've got Life Force sitting there. So you may go by up on 25th Street. And
I didn't know about that.
Donate. I think Johnny Hooker's going to call him later. Larry, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great.
Now, your daddy was Frank.
Frank, that's right, Ron.
Big old Frank.
Frank's a good man. I really enjoyed him.
And a good friend of your dad and uncle.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Those go back many, many years ago. How long's Frank been gone now?
86.
86.
Wow,
yeah.
Almost 30 years. That's hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess Dad died somewhere around
81.
81 there,
Ron would have said 3 or 4 years ago. Everything's 3 or 4 years ago, no matter how many decades ago it was.
Time flies.
It sure does. Ron, next week's show, we're getting kind of excited now. We're getting real close, Larry, to having our racetrack documentary ready to show. And next week on April the 12th, we're going to have Dave Wright Jr., a very well-known racer in the old dirt track circuit talking, and he is a fabulous historian of dirt track racing. Think we might have another guest or two on with him. And then on April the 17th, on a Thursday night, we're going to be showing the documentary at 6 p.m. down at our very own Museum Center at 5 Points. And I've had to say congratulations to them. They got their Smithsonian certification. That means we're going to be getting some really fabulous exhibits coming in because of that. And I'm hoping that someday we'll have that same certification for Charleston, so we can get some stuff in up there, too.
Great. Larry, tell us where you grew up at.
I grew up on East Inman Street, near Dooley. The old area was called Sixth Ward. And
So that
I
was the
guess
voting ward, was it?
that was a voting ward, and they called it six, but it was the sixth ward in a certain precinct. And it was a mixed neighborhood, black and white, but it was just one big family.
Who's some of your neighbors?
The Watsons. When I was growing up, Austin Watson had a little neighborhood grocery store right up the
Now,
street.
is that the Watson brothers' dad?
That is
or uncle?
all right. Austin. First of all, Austin's father. There were several of those Watsons that was a generation older than me, and one of them was Austin, and he had Mountain City Ford in Chattanooga.
Okay.
Okay.
He
Right.
left here and went down there and got in the car business. And then his uncle was Johnny Watson's father. They had the big produce stand. Y'all old enough to remember the big produce
Nope.
stand on East Inman?
Where at?
Right there in the heart of Sixth Ward on the right going out. They had 3 or 4 houses, and they had produce everywhere.
I don't remember.
That was the main road. And they were in the grocery business, and that was his sons that had Watson's food store here.
Okay.
Johnny and Jack and Joe.
Right.
So
Now,
they're-
who had the food store down on Wildwood? The Watsons.
That's the same ones. That's
Same
Johnny.
ones.
They bought that from. They didn't open that initially, but they ended up owning it. And Watson's Tip Top and Stewart Park Grocery and stuff.
Okay,
So-
do you remember Earl's Drive-In down there on Wildwood, Earl Beatty's?
I remember Earl's. Yes, I remember Earl's Beatty, but drive-in.
Food establishment?
Yeah, vaguely. I remember
Okay.
that name.
I have movies of that. We need to get together and let you watch that. When I say drive-in, that's kind of a loose term. It was actually somebody's yard, and the cars just kind of
And
miscellaneously parked up there.
and before there was Napa's and AutoZones, there was Foster's
That's correct.
down on Wildwood. That was where you got your car parts, wasn't it?
It was, and it grew to be a very large operation. Very large operation.
Now, boys, where is that? Where was that?
Right there on Wildwood, near Tinsley store on the left.
It's still there.
Yeah, it's still there.
My brother-in-law was a automotive rep for about 30 wholesale lines, and he covered the state of Tennessee, and he called on Foster's, the wholesalers, and he told his story. He went down there one day, and they had a special deal on antifreeze, and the Fosters bought several trailer loads full, and he turned the order in, and the company called him back and said, we'd have to have a financial statement to send that down there. And he went down to see them, and they said, we've never done a financial statement. Said, here's our banker up here at Cleveland National. Said, have him call him. And he called the company and said, send him anything he wants.
I used to, I don't remember who it was, but there was a house right next door to Foster's. If you was facing Foster's on the right, that's where they babysat me when I was a young boy, and I used to play there around Foster's and didn't know what it was back then. But but I don't know who those people are. I couldn't tell you. And my mom, unfortunately, can't tell us anything now. So it's
Wildwood Avenue and Inman Street was just a beehive of activity. I mean, there was people everywhere, and they were people from all walks of life. I mean, there was people that lived in those areas that had money and some that didn't, but they were all family, and they all got along. And I never saw any trouble hardly at all on anything. It was just everybody looked after everybody else.
So, what women in the neighborhood give you a spanking, Larry, if you needed it?
Any of them.
And your mama wouldn't say a word, would
No,
she?
and they would call your mama or go tell her that they'd spanked you.
And then what would happen?
You get another
that's
spanking.
right. You got another one. Did you guys still raise cows and chickens back then? I mean, people still have cows in their yards for milk and stuff?
I didn't see many cows, but we had a lot of chickens, and they were small lots, and about 70 feet wide. And by the time I came along, there were 3 or 4 trucks in our backyard. My father was in the trucking business, and so it was just full of I mean, it was paved really from changing oil. My basketball court was actually paved. And also by the time I came along, because of the trucks and stuff, they did very well financially, and like a lot of people over there could have lived anywhere in town they wanted to and paid cash for it, but chose to stay.
Yeah. What about you? Remember the Ever Ready Cafe?
I sure do. And
That was Andrews and
Avery Johnson's,
grandmother.
I got confused whether it was an aunt or a grandmother.
His
That's
grandmother.
I thought it was a grandmother,
Yeah, the aunt may have worked in there too.
but I've got a little story about. I think it was Miss Alice.
I can't remember her name.
I think her name was Miss Alice, and I remember it very well. I had a sister about 3 years younger than me, Linda, who was in a tragic wreck a few months ago.
We're really sorry to hear
And
about that.
she went up there with her girlfriends, and they were all about 12, 13, wanting to learn how to dance. So they would go in there, and the guys were always around bothering them and pestering them. So Miss Alice would close the cafe at 4 o'clock. Time they got out of school and got home, and only let the girls in there. And she'd lock the door behind them, and they'd go back there, and that's where they learned the jitterbug. And that's where they learned
That's when
fast
people
dance.
took care of the kids in the community
That's
right there.
They sure did. And she was a wonderful person, and
How was the fried chicken?
it was great. It was
Yeah.
great. And the House of Happy Feet was right across the street.
Right. Yeah.
And who ran it?
I can't think of the guy's
St.
name.
James.
St.
St.
James.
James.
St.
Yeah.
James. That's right.
Now that's his last name, St. James.
Yeah.
You
That's
reckon?
all I ever knew.
Yeah.
And then after Austin Watson moved to Chattanooga in the late 50s, Jim Payne and my mother bought that little neighborhood grocery store up there, and it was called P&P Market. And I was a teenager, and I delivered the groceries all over East Cleveland. And Jim Payne was the butcher and the partner, and he later had a store on down the road. And Mom and Jim had it for about 4 or 5 years, and of course everything was on credit. And I think Mama told me when she sold her half out to Jim 4 or 5 years later, there was maybe $120 in bad debt, and it was people that died before they could pay them. They come in there every week and pay.
Oh yeah. It was,
You would pay, and then you get your groceries, and
That's
you
correct.
pay,
or
and
you
you get your
get your groceries delivered, which is
Yeah, we delivered them. I delivered them everywhere. And, of course, back then, nobody had keys. I never saw a key. We lived over there almost 40 years. I never saw a mama with a key to lock a door.
Yeah, I remember growing up on Spring Place, and we had those skeleton keys. We never used them. The doors were just always unlocked. You can't do that now.
If-
You don't walk to the mailbox and not lock your door now.
My father was a trucker, and he would be gone 3 and 4 nights a week, and mother raised 4 or 5 children over there and never locked the door and never had the first problem. And if anybody was coming up the street, they were welcome at our house, you know.
Yeah.
Didn't matter what color they were or anything else. I mean, it was really a family.
What did you call Ophel?
That's a good question. Anybody you ask,
Some of people go from all the way from Hardwick's all the way down to Chair Factory Lane.
I always thought the old field was the Blythe Avenue school area
Yeah.
right in there. Is sort of the way I define it. And then,
on the west side of Inman Street. Then
well,
Well,
it'd be
would-
south.
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 Of him, yeah.
And
I'm sorry,
and-
I'm thinking of Wildwood Avenue.
and it would be yes, west of Wildwood. And when you get the other side of Wildwood, what was that? Vanishing Trails.
I don't know.
I think
never
that
heard
area going into the old city dump. I think
Oh, okay. I'd never
Gum
heard
Holler.
of it. Gum Holler. Yes, Gum Holler. Yeah.
Okay, there was a vanishing trail right around in there somewhere
Well, I
too.
don't know.
Well, we're bringing back some memories. It's been a long time. I
That's
wish.
where
Blow the dust off those memories.
Chip
Larry.
Bryant's mom, her family, the McCanns, were all from back Gum Holler back up in there.
What'd she call it? I'll think of it in a minute. Something to do with the frogs, soggy bottoms, or
Frogtown.
Frogtown. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, every little area had a name, and you know, I hate to see those names disappear. You know, 5 Points even. I think when I come under the underpass, some of those big old buildings, it'd be nice to have a big old logo saying "Welcome to 5 Points" or something.
Sure
you know.
would, wouldn't it? Yeah.
And it's nowhere down there does it say 5 Points.
No, that's and a lot of people probably don't know what 5 Points
They
meant
don't.
either.
They
You know,
don't.
Yeah. That there at Forked Lightning was what was there when you were growing up? When it wasn't a bar then; it was probably a restaurant or a gas station. Or
Now, when you say Forked Lightning, where Wildwood and
Wildwood,
Emmett
right,
splits,
yeah.
you had Charlie Townsend had a little. As you come up the hill going east on the right, he had a little Pure Oil station there, just on a small postage
yeah,
stamp.
that's
lot.
over on the right
It
side.
was on
yeah.
the right,
That's
And-
on those movies too. You can see that.
And that was Charlie Townsend. And in the triangle there, I think it was another service station.
Yeah.
An SO station.
You know, it was the reason it's called Fork and Lightning because it was a bar there many years ago called Fork and Lightning.
I didn't know that.
And that's how it got its name. And we got some pictures of that. But it was been a gas station and things over the years. And of course, you go on around the right there. There was another gas station right there, become a block company right past Buckner's there on the right. What was that? It's an old gas building. Still,
Yeah, there was a gas station there
Somebody
too.
that listens, their daddy ran that. It was the one that was Dunn's
I
drywall.
think it started. The ambulance service started there, did it not?
I think it did too. I think it did too.
Yeah.
In talking about East Cleveland and it being a mixed neighborhood, made me think back to my early days. You know, when you're born into a segregated society, even though you don't realize it. I mean, for example, when you go to first grade, it doesn't dawn on you that everybody in your neighborhood's not there. It's just the way it's accepted.
Right.
But then you go home and you play with them. And they come in your house and you go in their house. And I remember the first time it dawned on me that we were segregated. And that is when I was about 8 or 9 or 10 years old, and it was a Saturday morning, time to go to the Princess Theater for a matinee. And my mother hollered out the back that it was time to go to the movie. And I was playing with a couple of white boys and a black guy named Richard. And Richard was, I think, being raised by his grandfather, who was the principal at College Hill School. And we said, let's go to the movie, Richard. He said, okay. So we all walked to town, and we walked down to the Princess, and we pay them our dime. And they look at Richard and said, you got to go upstairs.
Oh.
That was the first time that it ever registered that he was being treated different than I was. Maybe I should have known better, but I didn't. It never dawned on me why he didn't go to Allen. He went to College Hill, but we played together all the time. So when the movie was over and we were all upset about it, we walked home. We said, we're sorry, Richard. We didn't realize that you couldn't sit with us. He didn't say much. About a week or two later, he must have told his grandfather, because a week or two later, he said, we're going to have a movie at my house Friday night. And he lived over there right near College Hill School, right on the hill above Galt Street. And so we went to Richard's house, and his grandfather had gone out and got some kind of old reel-to-reel projector. And he had some kind of cowboy movie, and we paid a nickel to get in so we could all sit in there and watch the movie with Richard. I never did forget that story.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a good one. You know, so you went to Allen School?
I did all 8
And
years.
it was segregated at that time?
Yes,
So the black children went to College
Hill.
Right.
Yeah, I grew up in the 50s, and it was segregated, but didn't realize it till I was about 10 years old.
So,
Wow.
you know, I went to Oak Grove, and I started in the fall of '59, and it was probably well into the '60s before we ever saw one black student come there.
Right.
And so, you know, we had a sort of more of an economic divide there at Oak Grove, being what we called the city dumpers.
Mhm.
The kids that lived there in Gum Hollow around the dump area,
Right.
they came there, and then, and of course, then we were suburban kids out on Spring Place, and there was a economic divide and tussle, you know.
Yeah, and a country versus city culture.
Yeah. And I will tell you that we got into a fight with them one time, and those boys knew how to fight. they grew up tough. We were just, we
They were tough.
We had a window air conditioner. We thought we were tough kids, we got. I was on the football team at Oak Grove, and it was Dennis Botts and Tobe McKenzie and some of the. We were all out there, and the city dumpers is what we called them. We're out in the woods, and you're supposed to be in the woods, Oak Grove. So the football team told you can't be out there, and we told them we'd make them, and they whipped us. Oh my God!
Ron and them came at them with their dukes up like they were going to box, and that they were throwing rocks and sticks.
I got hit in the head with a rock and got beaten.
That explains it all.
And then Coach Beatty and Mr. Refner come out and made us run laps. We were bleeding, then had to run laps. So, but I'll never forget that. But so there was a divide there.
But
And,
it was more economic.
It was an economic divide, but never a racial divide. And of course, we didn't have any race to even divide from. So I get to Bradley High School, and still in 1968, there was 30 blacks at Bradley High School then. So it was still, although segregation is supposed to end, it sure hadn't ended in at least the county schools.
No, it hadn't. And I don't know when Bradley integrated, probably just right before 68, I guess.
I think, Levi Scott and Terry Scott were probably – Terry Scott, I think, was the first athlete, because I think Jerry Frazier said that, they sort of took him under their wing, and, and, of course, after they seen him dribble and shoot, segregation ended.
Right.
Yeah,
I
pretty
think
quick.
it was the mid-'60s
Yeah.
probably when it happened.
Yeah,
And I was out of high school by then. But
Larry, someone here online wants to know about the building that's still down on Wildwood that belongs to the Tinsley family, and it says drugs on the side of it. And I believe it was Pierce's drugstore. Do you remember a drugstore being there?
that's a little two-story building
Yes.
built right up
Yes.
on the street.
Don't really remember.
It's always Tinsley's store, what I remember growing up.
It was Tinsley's first little grocery
This
store.
is
I think.
1949.
Oh, yeah.
So that's long before.
Before me.
Yeah.
I think it would be a grocery store in 1949.
49,
A small
okay.
little grocery store, and I didn't know.
Well, it could have been a grocery store with a drugstore in it too. Everything was just kind of compact. And what about the ice factory there? Was there just one ice
there was
plant?
There was a big ice plant there, and there was one over on Central Avenue too, near
I-
Dooley's Ice Cream.
Okay. I
I
don't
didn't know
remember
about that one.
I'm sure we'll talk about Dooley's for the days out, because if we start talking about it now, that's all we'll
I
talk
know
about.
that on these old movies that we have that shows this little pure station that you're talking about, it's just a glimpse into the past. Well, you can see the coffin factories in the background. Those were huge buildings. See, I don't remember those buildings.
They were.
And then you can see the flower plant there, but it still looks just like it does today to
it
me. But there were buildings all up and down Inman Street there where the
That was
Whirlpool has their
Velvo-
parking lot.
That was Velvo flour then, right?
It was, and the casket company even had some what they call company homes. I had
I didn't
I had a
know that.
friend. I had a friend. His daddy worked over there, and they would put you in one of those little houses around
Where were
there.
Now, that was a
They were
Mr.
just right around all
Mr.
over.
Johnston owned that, didn't
Yes,
he?
they did.
Yeah, was that Skeet Johnston's brother?
No, that would be if you know
Skeet.
Tucker
Reimer?
Johnston or
Oh.
Jim Johnston.
Yeah.
It'd be their father, or I think it'd be their father.
Or grandfather, because
Yeah,
we tried to get Tucker to come
Tucker
on.
Johnston, that was his grandfather.
Okay, he started it, but I think his daddy worked there too.
Oh, okay.
And Tucker's mama was a rhymer.
Oh, okay,
Or-
that's where.
Tucker's grandmother and Skeet Rhymer were brothers and sisters.
We want to do a show about that, but there's no really. Tucker said he don't know enough about it, and I haven't found anybody that worked there. And because then when did it close? 60s?
In the 60s, I'd say early. Tucker's daddy was Jimmy Johnston, and it was his father that started it. And I think Jimmy shut it down in the 60s and went to work at Magic Shelf. I think.
That would that's it's interesting because a few people said that their family has worked there, but no one. I guess it'd be hard to find anybody still alive that worked there, wouldn't it?
It
They'd
would,
have to be-
it would be. A good friend of mine, one of my best friends' father worked there for a while, and he's the one that told me that when he was just real young, they lived in a company house.
And there's basically one picture that I know of the outside of it, and I'm surely someone's got a picture of it somewhere in their drawer or something like that, and they used to work there. Or,
I know not too long ago on eBay, I found a, I guess it would be a brochure that the salesman would pass out to potential buyers of the coffin factory that described
they
it.
started at a casket, then moved to a coffin. Is that correct, Deb?
Yes, it started out wooden and moved to the metal after World War II. They said, someone online here says that they thought the casket company closed in 63 or 64.
That sounds about right.
And it burned, believe, late
Right.
69,
Hey,
70.
You're listening to Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www. We got Larry Presswood in here today, and we're talking about East Cleveland. And, man, if you, on the other side of the tracks, if you got a story you need to call us, we're going to open up the phones now. Call us here at 614-5553. And
Larry, talking to you today just reminds me that we just need to encourage people to write down their family stories and stuff, because you know, I read all kinds of history stuff all the time, and I've never heard about those company houses for the casket company, and it just reminds us there's so much history
Yeah.
out there we don't know.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
caller. You're live.
Good morning, Ron Deb. How you doing?
Hey, Bullet.
Hey, Bullet, what's up?
How old type of guy is Presswood there?
Oh, he's real old.
I'm
No.
still 39. I've been 39
He
for
grew
about
up in the
30 years.
50s.
I was wondering if he might have knew my brother went to Allen. His name was Paul, and he actually went with Jimmy Link and Stanley Allen and all them boys, and they actually got him chewing tobacco when he was 8 years old.
Stanley Allen. I know Stanley's son.
Well, he went to school with all them boys. I went to Blythe Avenue, and I got a little flash story I'll tell you. When I went to East Cleveland, I was 8 years old, and Larry and Gary Hilton, they used to chase me home from school every day. And I actually climbed a tree, and they threw a rock and knocked me out of a tree. And but it was mean days back in them days, but nowadays.
Well, now, I mean, it just got you ready for the rest of your life, Bullet.
Now they knock you out of a tree with a 9mm.
Did you say you went to East Cleveland?
And I like to stand and fight or let them whip me because I can't run anymore. So, but them was they're bringing back a lot of good memories to me, and I'm gonna listen to you. And I do appreciate your show.
Did you say, Paul, you went to East Cleveland Elementary?
Well,
This is Robert.
my brother went to
Robert, I'm
Allen,
sorry.
and I went to East Cleveland and Blythe.
So if you went to East Cleveland, you knew the Gills and the Cries, and
Yeah, the Whites, Forgies,
yeah.
all them boys, and but really, I actually grew up in Old Field, where I was born, and I went to Blythe Avenue, and but now my brother, he went to Allen, and I went to Blythe Avenue until I went to Arnold Junior High School. Then
So they call the intramural teams Old Field Pack Rats.
Yes.
yeah, well, it was good days back then. Like I say, you guys are bringing up a lot of good memories to me, and I know you can get a lot of calls, so I'll let somebody else
Thanks.
call in.
Okay, thank you, Bullet.
Now, the old Allen School, in case people don't know, it's just off Inman Street, close to the
Buckner's.
It was right behind
Rush-
Buckner, next
Buckner
to
Rush
Buckner
Funeral.
Funeral Home. And I will say this, which not too many people know: Allen School was built as the first city high school,
Right.
Oh,
and it was
interesting.
3-year high school. And I think it was built and just right after the turn of 1904, 1905, before Bradley.
Mm-hmm.
Bradley was built in 1916, and it was a 3-year city high school. I don't know how. And when Bradley was built, that's why it was so big compared to other elementary schools.
Right.
And when Bradley was built, they turned it into East Side Elementary. That's what it was called. My mother went there, in fact.
East Side.
East
okay.
Side, and then they got in a policy of naming their elementary schools after school superintendents, and so they named it Allen. I guess in the 30s.
That's really sad that we don't have a sign over there. The gym is still standing. It's used as the city maintenance garage, I believe, which is thankfully at least marks the spot. But there's a lot of wonderful memories over there. We had lots of 3-year high schools around the county, but that's the first city one I've heard of.
It is.
We had Hopewell and Flint Springs, and I'm sure there were others that I just not thinking of right now.
I did not know that. I did not know that those schools were.
Yes, there's a school. There's a picture of Hopewell when they're having some gathering, and it was just where 60 crosses over Eureka Road. It was just to the north of there.
Charleston was the first high school.
Right.
And then, of course, there was High Point there in Charleston, which was the black school up on top of the hill there. Speaking of naming schools, they're going to build a new school out on Georgetown. And
Yes.
I guess money's and everything. But that is right there at the side of the Candies Creek Mission, the very first school of Bradley County. And, boy, it would be appropriate if we named that school Candies Creek.
I agree.
Candies
I agree.
Creek.
I mean,
School.
just from a historical standpoint.
I
And
agree.
We know the mission was within a fourth of a mile flying distance.
near
anyway.
where Johnny Brewer's little farm is over in that area,
Yeah.
right across the creek over through the woods there. So that would be a great honor there, and maybe a historical sign talking about the first school there.
I think that would be great too, and I wish we would try to preserve these old names and,
Yes.
and our history. And
I don't
our
think I
legacy.
can't think of a better name for it.
Well, someone will, unfortunately. I'm afraid.
Name it after
Yeah.
somebody. But anyway, that's just terribly interesting about Allen. I did not realize that building was so old. Yeah. And someone online here said that her mother went to East Side in 1935.
Tell us about Wallace Reimers over there. I mean, what do you remember all about Wallace Reimers?
Well,
I remember going there and getting watermelons, and then later on getting them little 10-cent hamburgers.
One of the first recollections in life, of course, is going to Allen's school and walking up to Wallace's store. Mm-hmm. Wallace was a gentleman, a great guy. And, of course, in high school, we walked from all over East Cleveland down to his little restaurant to catch the bus to go to Bradley. Bus picked you up there.
Oh, that's interesting. So everybody from the community just walked down and get the bus.
Mm-hmm. But he started just up around that where the fruit stand was. Later he built that, younger people remember the little cafe on down a little bit.
When I was in high school, we met at the cafe. We'd go in there and catch the bus out front, and then they'd drop us off there in the afternoon. When I was in elementary school, he just had that little small wooden building on the corner.
Now that's, I think that's some of the first Crystal-type hamburgers in the world.
First one I ever saw.
Yeah, just those little hamburgers there. Hey, we got a call. Good morning, you're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Who is speaking?
This is Ron Moore.
Ron Moore, this is Johnny Hooker. How you doing?
Hey, Johnny Hooker. Tell us about that event going on up there today.
Well, everybody's just now getting set up. Of course, it's sponsored by McIntyre Insurance, Safeco Insurance, Ace Hardware, of course, where it's located. You got the police cars here, fire trucks. You got the Pet Disaster Club here. And got some beautiful dogs up here. So this will be from 11 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And there's also an event going on at Charleston Park. Local musician JoJo Collins will be playing up there.
Okay. What's the event up there?
It's just called The Fun in the Park.
There we go.
And now tell us the purpose of your event down there today.
Do what now, Ron?
Tell us the purpose of your event.
It's to bring awareness for severe weather.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Good time. 74, we had a few tornadoes about this time of year, didn't we?
April 3rd.
Yes, we did. And also April 27th, we'll never forget that one.
More recently.
Cleveland, Bradley County. Of course, then we had that one in 2012 also. So
I think we've had our share for a while. We can just send them somewhere else.
Absolutely. Hope everybody comes out and supports the local first responder people. We got ambulances and fire trucks and all types of rescue personnel here. And just a good day to be out.
Yeah, great for the
Johnny,
kids. Really good for the kids to come out.
Johnny, what community did you grow up in?
I grew up here in Cleveland, Bradley County.
Okay, I was thinking maybe you was from Buck's Pocket.
Some of my kinfolk, yes, was from Buck's Pocket. Yes.
There's lots of hookers in Buck's Pocket.
You don't want to name any of those hookers down there, do you?
Do what now?
You don't want to name any of those like Vance Hooker or anybody, do you?
Well, Vance and PA and DH and Eddie, they're all cousins of mine. Of course, my father was Raymond, and he passed away when I was 26, but really involved in church work at Big Springs Baptist Church in the music there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Fine folks.
We're just hometown boys.
There you go.
Everybody comes out and supports these local first responders.
Let me ask you a question.
Amazing job.
Let me ask you a question real quick.
Yes, sir.
What's the last bat you shot?
Do what now?
What was the last bat that you shot?
Bat.
That was back in... That was at old Bradley Central High School. There was a bat there, and of course we got permission from Bill Schultz. That was the principal there. There was a bat in the school, and located up there in the ceiling of the band instrument room where they used to store the drums at. And one of the majorettes come out just to say, "There's a bat in there." And I said, "Ain't no bat there." And sure enough, there was. Me and Terry Gallagher left and went and got my .22 rifle with permission of the principal. Walked down the hall and we let that bat out and we shot that bat right there in the school.
So that's a school shooting.
You can't do that anymore.
Can't do that anymore.
No.
Thank you, Johnny.
Bye-bye.
You're
Thank
there
you.
from 11 to 3, Ace Hardware.
They'd send the SWAT team out there now.
Yeah, that's right. Ron, we want to mention too.
Bye-bye,
Bye-bye,
Johnny.
Johnny. That the Convertibles are playing tonight at the Gypsy Rose down on South Lee
Big
Highway.
Gypsy Rose. Wonder if Bob
Up on
Cash
the
will be there.
hill behind Swafford's Furniture, 9
Bob-
p.m. Go
Bob
out and
Cash
see
may
Frodo.
be there. He gets there at 11, so well, I don't know if he'll still be there by that late.
I grew up with Bob Cash.
Well, Bob and I are related. Bob's mother and my mother are first cousins, so I've known Bob a long time. And how many stories you got on Bob?
Well, Bob is the one that taught me the game chicken business. We were about in the 6th grade.
Okay, tell us what
And-
the chicken business is.
Well, unfortunately, we was out fighting those game roosters.
Oh, see, Bob never told me this.
Bob had one, and everybody had a game rooster, and of course we didn't have spurs or anything, thankfully, but they all had nicknames, and we'd take them all over 6th Ward and drop them down and bet a nickel or something on who had the best fighting game chicken. But
So what was your chicken's name?
you know, it's been so long. I think it was Dynamite. But I hadn't thought of that till you mentioned Bob. I was in about the 6th grade, and Bob's mother died here recently. And I'm
Yes, yeah.
sorry to hear that.
Geraldine.
Well into her 90s.
But I've known Bob since about the 5th or 6th grade.
Yeah, I always cracks up when he tells me about when he started learning. He's going to learn how to parachute, and he jumped out of the plane 3 times. It hadn't hit the earth yet. He hit a tree once, a building once, and a car once.
In fact, Bob would have been a good one to come in here today.
Yeah, well, and then
Well, we didn't think about it, did we?
Bob usually listens. He'll call here in a few minutes.
Yeah,
Of course,
well.
he's trying to get a date with Red, who's one of our listeners. He's always trying to get a date with somebody, though.
I haven't
think.
seen Bob in a good while.
Oh, he's a mess. The first time I encountered hot slaw, I guess it was at Wallace Rhymer.
Oh, yeah.
Lord
Wasn't that
lit
great?
me up, and I thought, I'm not sure I like this stuff, but I did love those little hamburgers, and I can almost see my dad going back in the back and carrying out one of those big old cold watermelons up on his shoulder to take somewhere.
Who was the bootleggers?
Well, I was a little young then. I never did know him too well. One of them, Stevenson,
Yeah.
Nub?
Nub, Rusty.
Same ones after I got older, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably knew Rusty better than any of them. Rusty was a true gentleman.
Yeah.
He was a great
Then
guy.
Nub then sold out to, I think was to a Runyon or something out over there on
And everybody on here's always said that, you kind of wonder about those folks, but if somebody's house burned or if somebody in the community needed something, those were the first people that stepped up, that took care of people.
They did.
They did.
They did, and they were. I've heard tales of, if they're down there playing cards or something, and somebody leaves money or something, it gets back to them. There wasn't no theft. There wasn't no. They treated people right.
Of course, it was against the law, but they were just if they didn't buy it there, they would have drove to Chattanooga and got it or something. So they'd get raided from time to time, but I think they like getting raided.
Yeah,
It was the best advertisement in the world.
it was, and of course you could always get it from the cab.
Yeah.
Speaking of the money missing, let me tell y'all a good story. Here in the last few days, couple weeks, a young mom with a baby was leaving Big Lots here in Cleveland. And you know how you got the baby and the stuff and you get yourself all wound up and busy. Well, she had left her wallet in the shopping buggy, and she didn't realize it for several hours. And she went back to Big Lots and asked about it, and they couldn't find it anywhere. And so she thought all of her credit cards and all of her cash was gone. And so later on, she met the police up there, and someone had come out and said she had not been there when the girl went back to check on the wallet, but this person had secured it there in the store in the proper place, and her wallet was returned, everything intact. So I just like to say that every now and then, that there's still good people out there, and whoever found that wallet and returned it
I think
is a hero.
most of the people are good. It's just the ones that are bad are real bad. I'll say.
Yeah, and looking back, I'm just amazed of the lack of crime. I mean, when you think about people living with no keys, and I never saw any violence growing
Left your
up.
keys in your car too most of the time.
Yeah,
didn't you?
yes.
Where you wouldn't lose them.
Never saw anything. I just didn't see any violent crime growing up. Worst thing I ever saw was a couple of kids getting a fist fight. That's it.
Well, yeah. And you said the racial tension was not there.
It wasn't there. I mean, they were always welcome at my house at dinner time or any time. Friends and family, didn't matter who they were, and you were welcome anywhere. I've been all over Sixth Ward. I've been in all of them's houses. Didn't even think about it.
So, what was your week like when the assembly was in town? The church?
Well, it was exciting.
You had to see this big smile that came on his face.
It was exciting. I mean, that gave you an opportunity to go see tons of people that you didn't know and run up and down Central Avenue and have cotton candy. And
how'd your mom's store do that week? I mean, did it make a big difference?
Mom and Jim Payne's store did well all the time, but yeah, I mean, it helped. And we even had people stay in our house. It started in the 30s when they needed the money, but even after they didn't need the money, we had two couples, two different families that stayed at our house for 30 years. They were family. They ate with us. Even when they come back, we'd have to sleep on the floor and give up our bedroom for them. They'd come in April for that Bible school, or that training school, Bible training school. Then they'd come back in September. They were from up north, and they would visit us twice a year. And me and my sister would have to sleep on the floor in the living room and give up our beds for them.
I think a lot of families in Cleveland did that.
Hey, good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron. I have a question.
Go ahead, Red.
Go ahead, Red. I'm sure you have a question for Larry about Bob Cash.
Now, I want to know where Gum Holler is.
Well, if you go out Inman Street and there's a big car lot there, I think it's an old junkyard. If you take a right on that little street down there.
Hill Street, I think.
Hill Street, it goes back in there, and that's Gum Holler back in there.
And that's where the city dump was.
Yeah, the original city dump was back there.
What they call them, pickers.
Yeah, but it's a McCann. McCann's was a big family that lived back through the Gum Holler.
City Public Works back in there.
Yeah,
and the animal control animal center.
I know where you're talking about now.
If you know where the River of Life thrift store is, it's across the street from it.
Yeah,
go back down in there. That's Gum Holler.
I just want you to know one more thing.
All right.
If I ever find Bob Cash's wallet, he's not getting it back. I'm going to go out and eat.
It'd be empty, Red. It's empty.
Well, if there's anything in it, I'm going
out. Oh, there'll be a wad of gold in old Bob's pocket.
Okay.
But let me tell you, Bob will forget a lot of things, but it won't be his wallet.
He's probably got it tied on to him.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
Okay.
Thanks, Red.
Bye. Yeah, Bob probably has it super glued in his back pocket.
There you go.
I can pick on Bob there. That's okay. But
everybody picks on Bob.
That's good. So how many people in the community worked at the chair factories?
Or
bunches of them?
Everybody I knew either worked Dixie Foundry or Brown Stove or the chair factories, just about.
And then was Hardwick Close still pretty big then? Or?
Yeah, it was very big. Hardwick Woolen Mill.
Woolen Mill, yeah.
And you kind of, even if you finished high school, your plan in life was to get a job and you'd stay there your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people did.
My mother was born in 1915 and born in East Cleveland, up there around Two-Bit Alley, very poor. And Two-Bit Alley was right there where St. James was fronting on him. And if you turn on that side street, that was called Two-Bit Alley.
Okay.
And she was an only child, never knew her father. And she went to work at Hardwick Woolen Mill when she was 13 and a half, 1928, 29. And I heard this story many times over the years. She said you worked 10 hours and 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week, and about 5 hours on Saturday. I think it came up to about 58 and a half hours a week. And it was just she and her mama. And she said they paid you in a little brown envelope in cash. It was $6.25. And she said it was $2 for coal, $2 for rent, $2 for groceries, and 25 cents for everything else in the world.
How much did she make a week?
$6.25. And of course, she became a lifelong Democrat because of Roosevelt, because after a couple of years of Roosevelt, she was up to about 13 and a half.
There you go.
I think a lot, and then if you work down at the chair factory too, down Cleveland Chair. There was a lot of people work down there, and I got another call here. Good morning, live on Old Town Cleveland.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Have you all realized how many times you have said walked?
Said what?
When we
Walked.
were kids, we walked
Yes.
everywhere.
No, we weren't thinking about that, but it's true, you know, because my image was when the people would walk from their house to the factory even.
Well, we walked everywhere.
Yes, my mom did forever. She walked to work. I lived in South Cleveland, and if we missed the bus at Old Bradley High School, we walked home from Bradley High School. Nobody ever bothered us. On Saturdays, we went to the Princess with our dime and walked, and we were gone all afternoon. And when my children came along, there was no way I would let them walk anywhere. It's just a different society, and it was such a wonderful time. I feel like my children were sort of put upon because they didn't have that freedom and fun that we had. We would go down to the South Cleveland Y with Miss Kelly, and, you know, we would stay all day, walk home, just walked everywhere. And nowadays, you just don't let your children out or grandchildren out to do and go and have the fun that we did.
No,
You watch them out in the front yard now.
Right. You got to be out there with them. So it was just a good life, I thought. You know, it was hard. We didn't have, you know, anything like kids have nowadays. But it was just a good time back then.
Well, now,
Who were your neighbors? Sorry, Ron. Who were your neighbors?
Oh, gee. Oh, that's been a long time ago. I'm pushing 70.
It pushes back, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. We lived between Calvary Baptist Church and the old South Cleveland Church of God.
Well, you've been down around with the Frasers then, weren't you? Jerry Fraser?
Yes. He came along after I left Templeton Hill. And I tell my children, you know, I'm so old that they have torn down my elementary school.
Yeah.
You know, that's old when your elementary school is no longer around. But Templeton Hill was a wonderful place. Mr. Schultz, Mr. Henley, all those, you know, wonderful teachers there. And you walked to school every day. You know, there was just no choice. You know, there were no buses. And I played basketball, and in the afternoons when we played Allen, we all grouped together and walked over to Allen and to East Cleveland and to Arnold. And if it was raining, you walked in the rain, you know, and you just enjoyed it.
Now, your kids going to say you walk to school uphill in the snow every day, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, we lived on Church Street, and my sister talks about walking from Church Street to Arnold School and didn't think anything about it.
No. Oh, you know, you just knew you wanted to play ball, and you just did.
That gym at Templeton Hill was smaller than the other ones, and you only had about 2 feet between the paint stripe and the wall. You remember that?
Yes. And we had that little painter store on the corner where if you happened to have 10 or 15 cents after school, you would go over there and get a Coke and a bag of peanuts. But it was, you knew everybody, you know, people sitting on their porch, you know, waving at you and talking to you as you went by. And it was just a fun time. You know, maybe not the greatest as far as kids sleep now. They have it so good. But, yeah, I know when you all first started, you were talking about walking here and walking there. And I thought, yep, don't do that anymore. And
No, you don't.
Halloween, you know, we could go up one side of the street and down the other and over to Church Street. No mama, just kids out walking. And when mine came along, I put them in the car and took them where I wanted them to go.
Jerry Fraser talks about taking their cow up to the cemetery and tying it out so it could eat the grass.
Yeah, and nobody would think of getting that.
No, it was the original weed eater.
Right. So it's, you know, and helping people, you know, you all were talking about that. Yeah, you know, if there was a need or if someone passed away or whatever, you know, people came in and helped. And it was just...
If they were hungry, they knocked on the back door and they were fed.
That's right.
Whoa, much.
Well, thank you so much for calling. We appreciate it. And you call back sometime, okay?
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I believe that was a new caller. I always enjoy our callers and especially new callers.
You didn't go out and eat all the time like we do now. Now
No.
you don't eat at home. I mean, there's not a kitchen table as you and I probably grew up. You know, you sit around the kitchen table and with your mom and your dad.
That's right.
And,
And
your
you had-
dad was gone a lot, but the rest of your family's at there now.
But you had to be there.
Yes.
And you ate set time.
Yes, I know. Good morning, you're live on Old Town Cleveland. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Bob Cash.
This Bob Cash.
You get down here right now, Bob. I need some help.
Hey, Ron, who's your guest?
This is Larry Presswood.
Before?
Larry Presswood.
It's Red Presswood to you.
Who?
Red Presswood. You know him?
Red. Ha, ha. Let's go fight a rooster this evening, Larry.
You know who stood me up today that was supposed to be here?
Say what now?
You know who stood me up today that was supposed to be here with me? Jimmy Armstrong.
Ha, 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 ha. Well, I'll tell you what, boys. Y'all sure bringing back a lot of memories for me this morning. A lot of good memories.
What was the name of your gang rooster?
6 Ward, St. James, the House of Happy Feet.
No, your rooster that you used to take. That rooster we used to fight. Those gang roosters.
What was your name of your rooster?
My rooster was Big Red. Bad dude.
So
I
where,
couldn't-
where do you fight them at now, Bob?
Well, I tell you, they say it's against the law. Of course, the law, they've got their own roosters. If they don't win, they get mad, you know. But, no, Larry and I, Jimmy Payne, Dennis Maddox, a lot of us went over to Allen's school together. And I remember Larry played basketball for Allen, and he was good. Larry was always tall, and Larry was good at that basketball.
So what was you good at, Bob?
So what now?
What were you good at?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm good at that Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Oh, me.
Listen, fellas, I'm enjoying your program this morning, and Larry, I look forward to seeing you again. And we'll sit down and have a cold PBR. And by the way, somebody get a hold of Red and bring her Witchins.
What did he say? What did he say?
He's wanting us to bring redheaded
She
wildcat
done
to
called.
call.
Red's done called about you once today.
You're now good.
Well,
Good, I'm sure.
Does she know where to find you?
Oh, yes. Well, now, look here, fellas. I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to listen to the rest of you.
Thank you.
Sure enjoying it, and look forward to seeing you all again.
Bye-bye.
See you, Bob.
I think the only reason Red and him hadn't hooked up, they can't decide which one of them's going to pay.
That's it.
Bob is a little tight now.
Now, do you remember Bob's mom working at the KFC on Wildwood?
Vaguely.
Well,
That's probably after they grew up, though. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was when your mama still made you fried chicken at home.
Yeah, you were talking about eating out. The only eating out I remember growing up in was we were raised at Community Hall Church, Jack Cry's church over there off of Benton Pike.
Right.
And our treat was to stop at Vest Grocery on the way home. At that time, Vest Grocery was a big grocery store, you know, fresh produce, fresh meat, and everything. Of course, they had comic books and ice cream, and the treat of the week was to get a comic book and an ice cream cone at Vest Grocery.
Now, which one of the Vests ran that? I mean, do you
This was
remember?
the old original ones. They were brothers. Bill was one of them, and so you got Gene now and Little Bill, but it was their parents that ran it.
I think on the 19th we're going to have Neil Tipton on, and she ran
Tip Top.
Tip Top Food Mart
Yeah.
downtown.
That was
Vaughn's.
Bobby Taylor's brother on that.
Okay.
On Tip Top, I think.
Yeah.
Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Ron,
Hey.
Eddie Cartwright.
Hey, Eddie.
Hey, Eddie.
Hey, Eddie.
I just sitting here listening to your program, and you got a fine guest on there today. I don't know if people realize the contribution that Larry has made to our community, but back in the day when I was on the city commission, why, Harry Deathrow was the mayor, and he kind of arranged to have Larry come to work for the city. And, Larry knew what he was doing, and there was quite a bit of federal money available at the time. And really, I gave Larry the credit for us having number one fire hall at the old Templeton Hill site, and also for a big help on Tinsley Park. And Larry really knew what he was doing, and Larry's a smart fella. My dad had a station on Wildwood Avenue. The old building's still there. It's right in the curve where it's where the health department, that little
Where Galt Street comes out into Wildwood.
Right, well, the old
Dooley runs into Wildwood, right, Eddie?
That's right.
Dooley,
that's
okay.
Right. Now, there's a new front on it. It didn't have that modern-looking front. It had two old gas pumps out front. And my dad lived on Wilson Avenue. And this was before he married my mom. And I was only child from his second marriage. But I'm really enjoying this. I'm learning a lot of stuff about Wildwood Avenue and my buddy old Kenneth Tinsley.
Yep.
Had that little Pierce drugstore. The last thing I remember in there before he passed away is he had a little antique refinishing shop in there.
Mm-hmm.
And at night we'd sit around and talk about local politics and what was going to happen in the city next and all that sort of thing. But hey, you got a good program going, and I'm enjoying it.
Eddie, I appreciate the comments about me. I remember I worked up there 7 years, and I never did know whether we were doing a good job or not. Nobody would say anything. And as soon as I left there, you and Max bragged about me all over town for the last 30 years. And I asked Max one time, I said, why didn't you tell me when I was up there I was doing a good job? He said, I was afraid you'd want a raise.
Well, now, Eddie, I will point something out to you. You know, you've talked about Kenneth and you've talked about Larry here, and Democrats do pretty good work, don't they?
Yeah.
If they're in a nonpartisan job.
Nonpartisan, right?
Hey, Ron, if you say it real fast.
You can't say it twice, though, right?
Thanks, Eddie.
Not twice.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
Eddie.
you. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
See you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's funny. See, I knew somebody that we'd had on the show's dad owned that service station. I just couldn't remember who it was. Tell me about, we don't have,
About 2 minutes here or something.
okay,
Deb.
well, I was wondering about Mr. Dunlap that ran the creamery.
Creamery, yeah.
Do you remember him?
I sure do. Everybody knew John. And, the creamery was a happening place.
I know a lot of young people in Bradley County got their first job there, especially the boys. I think I'm not sure what they did there.
What did John go ahead and do? You know, he was in politics too, and
He was on the county commission for many years, but he really was an old appraiser for Cleveland Federal Savings and Loan.
Mm-hmm.
He did a lot of appraisal work for them and was on their board up there, which later became Cherokee Alley. Now, John was tight. Now, if you went in there, if that ice cream cone was a nickel and you had 4 pennies, you had to go home and get another one before you got that ice cream cone.
We heard that about Mr. Dooley over there, too. Yeah, that's... and when we come back here, we're going to take a break here. And during our break, I'll play the song we play before we come back on is a song called Gone Home. And for all those people in our community that's gone home and left us, we play that song in your honor every week. And so we'll be back here in just a few minutes on Old Town Cleveland, folks.
WOOP LP, Cleveland, Tennessee.
You need money overnight? Check into cash. Your time is tight. .com. Bank account's too low? Check into cash. So where do you go? .com. Do it online in a record time. It's the easy way to get money next day. Do a quick click from home at checkintocash.com. Just stay in the house, check into cash, and grab your mouse.com. Get your money online, check into cash, right on time.com. You can be sure it's secure from our bank straight to yours. Do a quick click from home at checkintocash.com. No time to get away, check into cash. You've got to stay home.com. Hey, that's okay, check into cash. You can do it alone.com. Any old time, do it online. Just stay in the house and grab your mouse. Do a quick click from home. Get your money overnight at the right website. Do a quick click from home. Go to checkintocash.com.
Wheeler Technologies has moved. Visit them at their new location at 490 Grove Avenue Southwest next to Bradley Rentals. Same great folks, same great service with a better location to serve you. Call Wheeler Technologies for voice, data, and security needs at 664-TECH. That's 664-8324. And remember, depend on Wheeler Technologies for the current time and temperature every day at 476-1111. Tennessee Alarm Contractor C1750. Kiesler Incorporated is in the business of recycling your metal, and they pay cash. The only covered scrapyard around where you can recycle rain or shine. They're located off the bypass on Overhead Bridge Road. Automobiles, appliances, copper, stainless steel, tin, all metals can be recycled at Kiesler, and you can walk away with cash. That's right, they pay cash, and they are the friendliest scrapyard in the Southeast. If you have unwanted metal just laying around, bring it to Kiesler Recycling today and walk away with cash. Kiesler Recycling open Monday through Saturday, 7:30 to 5, or call for more details, 614-3000.
I'm Sandra Knight, and I'm asking for your vote for the County Road Superintendent. We all know how expensive road projects can be, especially with the escalating prices of asphalt, concrete, new sign regulations, and more. I bring to this job many years of experience and education that will help in making cost-effective, sound decisions regarding all road projects. I also have a working knowledge of the county budget process and inventory system through my current position. This is an important part of our county government, and I know I'm the most qualified for the job. I ask for your vote during early voting or on Election Day, May the 6th, when this race will be decided. Put my experience to work for you as County Road Superintendent.
Paid for by the Committee to elect Sandra Knight, County Road Superintendent. Tina Bishop, Treasurer.
In the nation, we're behind you 100%. Add brand new belongings from Nationwide Insurance, and we'll replace stolen or destroyed items with brand new versions.
Call Eric Neff, Nationwide Insurance, Brian Norton Agency, downtown Cleveland, 599-1026.
Nationwide is on your side.
Optional feature exclusions and limits apply. Damaged items may be repaired. Consult policy language for specifics. Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
Judge Sheridan Randolph knows it is his responsibility to be accountable to the citizens he serves by presiding efficiently over the cases before him. Every defendant knows before leaving the amount owed and when payment is expected.
Yes, I know I messed up, but the ruling was fair. I'm just so glad I don't have to come back again tomorrow and miss another day's work.
Make the right choice. On May 6th, vote for Judge Sheridan Randolph.
Paid for by the Committee to elect Sheridan Randolph.
Robert L. George, Treasurer.
boys have gone home. They have gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as the work here was done. Gone home. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as their work here was done. Gone home. They have gone home. Gone home. They have
Welcome back to Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.whoopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. We're talking about East Cleveland and beyond, and we got Larry Presswood in here, a friend of mine from many, many years, and knew his dad, and so good to have him in here. Been talking about all of East Cleveland, and here in a few minutes we're probably going to have to talk about Dooley's Ice Cream. I
Maybe
think
so. Let's get
someone
this
may
call.
want to mention it. Go ahead, caller.
Hello, Ron, Debbie.
Hey, Miss Ella, how you doing?
Miss Ella.
Hey, I feel great. I danced so much last night. I didn't hurt at all.
Well, that's good to hear.
But I still got to go see another radiology.
So how many beers you have last night?
I didn't drink much. I just tried to see if I could drink one, but I didn't drink it.
Less than 12?
No, I drank less than one.
Oh, okay.
Hey, and Mark was there. He sang that song, I'm the only hell my mama ever raised.
Knowing his mom, I agree with that 100%.
Oh, Mark's all right. Everybody has some kind of a problem. You know that.
Well, what's Mark's? Well, I thought we were telling on people here. Okay.
Thanks, Miss Ella.
Thanks, Miss Ella.
Bye-bye. Have a
hope
good
you
week.
get feeling better.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There's an interesting conversation going on online here, and it reminds me that people were talking about back in the day that you could only get strawberries during strawberry season, and you could only get watermelons during watermelon season. You could only get cantaloupes
good
when they
cold
were
watermelon from Wallace Ripe.
when they were ripe in McMinn County. Yeah.
Good McMimble.
Yeah.
McMimble melons, aren't they? Go ahead, call you live on Old Town Cleveland.
What's going on, Ron?
Nothing much.
Got a good guest on there today.
He is a good one, isn't he?
Presswood. Hey, Presswood.
Victor.
Did they have basketballs when you was going to Allen?
Well, they did. They did, Victor. In fact, they built a gym. There were 5 city schools. There was Arnold, Allen, Mayfield, Templeton Hill. What was the other one? We didn't see. We had Arnold, Allen, Templeton Hill, Mayfield. There's one more. I'm getting the senior moment. But they built gyms. I think Templeton Hill already had an old gym, but they built new gyms at the other schools when I was in the 7th grade. So we were in High Cotton over there. We had a big old gym.
Well, I was fortunate enough to go to Allen up to the 3rd grade, and I really met some real good people over there. Then I had to move to Stewart School and got a shulker. The city boys is a lot of difference.
Yeah. The other school was Blythe Avenue. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember going to Wallace Reimers in the 1st grade and eating dinner.
Of course, Arnold was the big kid on the block, and they were the one everybody wanted to beat. I think they were the largest school, and I think Allen was the 2nd largest. And we could beat them every once in a while because our boys sometimes a little bit older than they were, a little bit taller. But they were always the main competition.
Well, I'll hear some more war stories, so I'm going to get off here.
All right. Thanks, Victor. Thanks, Victor.
We'll see, Victor.
You mentioned a while ago about nothing left over there but the gym. After we were in here a couple of years ago with Jim Smith and maybe Don Ledford or Jim Payne, who all was here, we attempted to get a historical marker put over there, and we filled out the application with Tennessee Historical Commission and put in there that it was the first city high school. And some reason or another, we got turned down, so we're appealing it, and we're trying to put a marker over there. And we would like to, when the City of Public Works vacates that site, which they bought land out north end of town for a place, we'd like to see that turned into a recreational area. I mean, when you ride through South and East Cleveland today, you can't even find a field for those kids to play in.
And that's true.
We had more recreation when I was a kid. You had a ball field down there at Blythe Avenue. We had fields over at Allen. And we had basketball goals and place to play, practice football and stuff, and had a gym. Now they have nothing. They don't even have a vacant place to hit a soccer ball. Anywhere that I know outside of the little South Cleveland Community Center, there's nothing in the south or east end of town.
And it's basically a pool now, too, an indoor activity.
And I think it's tragic that we don't have a place, a soccer field or anything else over there.
Amen. Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Edna.
Hey, Edna.
Oh, hey, Edna. How are you, sweetie?
I enjoy listening to y'all. I have so much I really want to tell Mr. Pendergrass, about Gum Holler.
Oh, go ahead. Tell us about it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell Larry about Gum Holler.
Okay. I'm a lot older than a lot of you people call them. I remember Gum Holler, and they had this big, I was a child, they had this big honky-tonk up on the hill. And 2 people got burned up, Ova Blankenship and her brother, Bill Blankenship. And it was a big, big, big honky-tonk, so they say. Now, on top of the hill, my brother-in-law worked for the city of Cleveland. So they had a house up there in Gum Holler. And
is that the red brick house, Edna, that's still there?
The what?
Is that house still standing?
I don't know. I haven't been over there, and I've been wondering. My sister Ray and my brother-in-law raised their kids up on that pile in Gum Holler. It was really a nice home. Like I say, he worked for the city. But talking about that, Mr. Pendergrass, I'm a lot older than Mr. Pendergrass, but that home that burned up there, and I was just a child, and I thought that was the most horrible thing that ever happened up there. Foggy Bottom, they called it. Everybody's wanting to know where Foggy Bottom was. That was up in Gum Holler. There were some wonderful people in Gum Holler.
I want to know how you knew about that honky-tonk. You didn't go, did you?
Well, I was only a child. No. No, I didn't know about it, but it was the news, all over up there, Cleveland, that was the news. A beautiful woman and her brother were burned up in that building up there. It was on the hill, up above landfill. Above the landfill. It's up there on a little hill. So, see, I was a child, and I grew up, walked those streets, and did this and did that, and it was a tragic accident.
Yes, sounds like it.
And you know me, I'm just always calling.
Well, we're glad you do.
We're glad you called, Miss Edna, and you call back anytime.
Okay.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I enjoy listening to you.
Thank you. We enjoy you calling. Bye-bye. Miss Edna can tell us about horses and cattle being taken off the train and taken over to the livery stables. The jockey lot and all that. And not many people around can tell us that kind of thing anymore.
I vaguely remember the jockey lot.
I don't remember it. You're listening to Whoop FM Old Town Cleveland. You can call us here at 614-5553 like this caller. Good morning, caller.
Yeah, Ron, just one more thing I'd like to add to you.
Sure.
Back when I went to Blythe Avenue back in the early 60s, we just loved to go play Allen School in our basketball. On my team, Andy Bounder's brother, Paul Bounder, and me and Paul, we practically beat Allen by ourselves almost.
I can believe that. I know Paul, and I grew up with Andy.
Oh, did you? Yeah, Paul's actually living in Nashville now. And I actually talked to him here not long ago. And but did you know a James Duckett?
Duckett?
Yeah, James Duckett.
I can't place the name right off.
Well, he actually lived in East Cleveland, and but no, back in them days, I think Allen was our robbery, about like Cleveland Bradley is now.
Yeah, well, Blythe was a big robbery for us too.
But you was right when you said Arnold was kind of the big dog back then. But don't get me wrong. Allen was a good basketball team also, and it was a good school. But I don't know why, but we just loved to play Allen.
Yeah, well, they were closest to us, and when I was there, I played against Earl West, Greek, and Carlos Gallman went to Blythe, and they had a good team too.
Well, I'm enjoying the show. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So, Greek grew up here?
Went to Blythe Avenue, played basketball there.
I don't even remember Greek's real name.
Earl West. It just came to me when I said Greek.
Yeah, I remember. I worked out with Greek, and I remember making a mistake one time, telling him, he says, "That's getting easy there." And I said, "Yeah, that's getting easy." He said, well, "Let's add 10 pounds.
Yeah,
I remember that.
In fact, Victor just called. Was very close friends with Greek.
Oh, yeah, sure was.
Sure
Victor
was.
and my cousin Tobe, they work down there all the time. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Yeah, this is here at T. Bandy.
Hey, T. Bandy, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, I got a fish truck coming 18th.
Okay. And it'll be there, and what time do you think?
It's on Friday at 11 o'clock.
April the 11th at 11 o'clock. 4/11 at 11 o'clock. Okay.
Has Ron got his cotton picked out yet?
He don't have his seeds picked out yet. When should he plant his cotton seeds?
About the 14th of May, somewhere along in there.
All righty.
I've got time then.
Yeah, have you got a copy of that song?
Copy of which song, baby?
Gone Home.
Oh, yeah.
I can get us one.
I need one. I'd like to sing it out there at the center for that people.
Okay, I'll get you a copy of it.
Okay,
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
All right. I don't know if we have a copy without words, though. All righty.
no, I
Thanks,
don't have
T. Bye-bye.
Let's talk about Dooley's ice cream here for a minute or two. If you're looking on the internet, I've got a picture of Dooley's.
What was Mr. Dooley's first name?
Jack.
Jack.
Was it Ed or Jack?
Well, maybe there's a
Seemed
Jack Dooley may be a guy.
I believe it was Ed.
Maybe an
I
Ed.
think.
Yeah.
That's what first came to me. I think
Jack. No, there's another Jack Dooley here in
another
town.
Jack.
Yeah, you're right.
I believe his name was Ed.
Come to me too easy. I seen him in town the other day.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
This is Linda Hedrick. I just wanted to ask Larry if he remembers Joe and Nancy Kaywood, who lived across the street.
I sure do. The Kaywoods live right across the street from me, right?
Mm-hmm.
A beautiful old home.
Yep. And my dad was Cecil Kaywood on the Jolly Cab Company, kind of across the street from Happy Feet.
Jolly Cab. I remember that name. Sure do.
Will you have any pictures of that?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I tell you, I have never seen a picture of the Jolly Cab. I would like to see something like that.
So it was across from the Happy Feet?
Yeah, pretty much across from it, yeah.
And let's see, Bill Jackson that had the White Spot and Pastime Billard down there, his wife, and I can't think of her name. She's still alive. She was. But she used to babysit me or watch me something. Now, she had some connection, I think, to the Kaywoods or lived right next to them or something right in there.
Yeah. We had two aunts and two more of the kids went to Allen's school. They all four went.
Uh-huh.
Lester and Eunice and Cecil and Rosine. Mm-hmm. And I went to high school.
And that reminds me of the Gillians, too. The Gillians, Earl Gillian was the senior patriarch, and, of course, that's his heirs all around here. But he was a very good carpenter and builder, and he built most of the homes in East Cleveland.
Oh.
And they ended up renting several of them, and they sold them a lot. In fact, they built the one I was raised in, but Daddy bought it when I was young. But they had a lot of rental property in East Cleveland, and they had a little rent house right across from the Kaywoods and right next door to us.
I remember that. And Woody's lived across the street.
The Woodies that had Patchbury Ribbon Brewery,
mm-hmm.
they moved up here in the early 50s from Chattanooga, and moved right across the street from us, and he had a one-car garage. That's where he started his beer distributorship.
Oh.
Out back.
We'd go visit them a lot, and we loved walking to the creamery and over to Dooley's and up to that shoe store.
Mm-hmm. Haggard's, remember Haggard's clothing store, or Haggard's up there?
Yes. Okay, I just wanted to call in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye.
I might want to mention, a lot of people out there know my brother Bill Presswood. He had Presswood Wrecker here for many years. I think he started it in the early 70s. And his shop was over around the old city dump and Gum Holler. And he's still alive. He'll be 89 next week.
Wow, tell him happy birthday.
And he still lives down there on Hardwick Street right off of Wildwood.
Now, did he look a little like your dad?
He did.
Yeah, I'm sitting there going, no, they really look a lot alike.
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead, call you live on Old Town Cleveland.
Mr. Dooley's name was Bill.
Oh,
Bill.
Yeah.
I thought it was Ed.
Well, we only had a couple hundred more guesses to go.
Who is this?
It's Bill.
This is Bill.
Yeah.
Bill Dooley.
Yeah.
So
thanks for clarifying that.
Did you ever eat any ice cream over there?
Oh yeah, many times.
What was your favorite flavor?
Great.
Just it didn't matter what flavor.
Bill never met an ice cream he didn't like, right?
I know. Liked it all.
Oh, John Cook grew up over there and went to East Cleveland School, and they'd walk over there with a nickel, and he said he always tried vanilla because he knew he liked vanilla, and he wasn't going to risk his nickel on anything he might not like.
Let's see. Mr. Dooley lived on Centenary, and I'm trying to think. John Holland. John Holland's. Let's see. Bill would have been his grandfather, right?
I don't know.
John's mother, I'm pretty sure, was one of Bill Dooley's daughters.
Yeah. Okay.
When did Dooley's open up? It opened up as a creamery first, did it not?
You know, all I remember is what I see in that picture up there. It looked like that when I came along.
That's the only picture I have found of Dooley's, too.
M.C. Hedrick had a grocery store right in there, too.
Right across the street, basically.
There's another one you ought to check out, too. It used to be a grocery store right west of Old Church of God.
That was the MC. Was that the MC Hedricks?
Oh, this is west of and it was Otto Hoffman.
Otto Hoffman.
I remember that name, too, vaguely.
He was a big German, but weighed about 300 pounds.
That's right. I remember that.
And lived right across the road.
Well, that's
Sure
the first
do.
time I heard of that one.
I remember that name.
Me and my dad used to black market meat there for him.
Mm-hmm.
That's before they started the meat inspection.
You know, if anybody's got pictures of these places in your drawers or something like that, you know, we need to get these out because they're going to be lost. And if it wasn't for programs like this, we would have never heard that name.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. All right. That's all.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Before we go on to anything else, maybe just let Larry for just a second talk about, growing up in East Cleveland hold anybody back at that time, or were you able to leave East Cleveland with the education you got over there and go do anything you wanted to do?
I was, and there was, and many other people did too.
That was not
a lot of successful people came out of East Cleveland. I mean, I could sit and tick off tons of local business people that came out of East and South Cleveland.
Mm-hmm. And so it's even though it was maybe not the most economically advanced place in Cleveland, you could leave there, get a good education, leave there, and make anything that you wanted to make of yourself.
It's so much harder to start a small business and move it into these huge businesses now than probably was back then.
It's even harder to operate a small business successfully.
Now you have to market worldwide, you know, so you know you can't compete with the Walmarts and
it's a different world.
You
it's
know,
a different world.
The Drapers and Darwins and all those downtown.
They were only competing against other local people.
Yes,
yes.
And
That's
you
true.
can't do that now because the internet. You can, you know, Amazon will ship you just about anything.
Right.
You can buy coffins over the internet now, so you don't even have to buy your own coffin from the local funeral home. I don't know what you do with it after you get it,
but you know, there was a lot of people over there that had money I mean, you know, it wasn't just. I mean, there was working class people all over town. I mean, it wasn't just that one area, you know, and there were people with money all over town. They didn't seem to segregate and concentrate like they do today, you know.
Oh, much different day. Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, Ron Townsend, does he know Aretha Tate?
Aretha Tate?
Kate.
Kate.
T-A-C-A-T-E?
Yeah.
Kate.
She was married to the Prince Wood.
I can't recall.
What was Bill's wife's name?
Oh, Retha. It wasn't Kate. It was Retha. Yes, that's my brother Bill's wife. She died. They grew up there around Mayfield School.
Right.
I'm drawing a blank on what her maiden name was. She was a Presswood salon.
No, Eda Haney.
No, that's not I know it if I heard it. And she had a younger sister named Peggy that was married to Charlie Thurman that died a couple years ago.
And do you ever know Beulah Stoops?
Who?
Beulah Stoops. S-T-O-O-P.
Yeah, I know that name.
Well, you're working to my husband.
Mm-hmm. Gaskin. I believe Reba's name was Gaskin.
Yeah.
G-A-S-K-I-N or something like that.
It's Gaston.
Okay.
I feel like I'm playing Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
Yeah, damn it is.
Well, thanks, Ina.
All right.
Bye, dear. It's harder than you think when you're sitting here and to understand what people are.
Go ahead.
What was?
I messed up. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I thought you had a caller on the line. I'm sorry. Okay.
I pushed the wrong button over here.
Just push them all, Ron. Just push them all. I just thought that was interesting. Before we went on the air, we were talking about how people came out of that community and were quite successful at whatever they did. And you know, that was the day and time when if you graduated from high school and you went to work in the factory the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody out of the same family worked at the same factory because your daddy got you a job there.
Right. The like I say, my grandpa worked in the chair factory down at Cleveland Chair. I know that, and I remember my dad leaving school in the 6th grade. He went to Tipton Hill School. If you remember the old blue houses right across the street from Tipton Hill School, right there at Hardwick's, that's where he was born in that house, and then went to Tipton Hill. Then he moved up on Graveyard Hill, but he had to quit school in 6th grade to go help feed the family because as my uncle was sick, and he delivered groceries on a bicycle from some of those little stores down over there. So,
do you remember? I'm sorry.
That was very typical. I guess my age, my generation, was the first that had the opportunity to go to college. I know several of my friends that grew up all around me that graduated from college, and so there was a lot of upward mobility.
The attendance rules started changing too with schools too. You just couldn't quit in the 6th grade anymore, could you?
No.
Now, did you? You're just a little bit older than I am, but did you have to buy your own books, or had they started? That changed in the 50s, early 50s.
No, we never had to buy our own.
Buford
books.
Ellington, maybe.
Yes, actually, before that, I can remember walking up Inman Street as a young kid, just 6 or 8 years old, and I can't think of the governor's name. It was way before Buford that was running on the platform of free textbooks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one time you used to have to buy your books, school books, at Cooper's Bookstore.
That's
one place.
That's right.
So, and a lot of people don't understand that you bought your books. Yes, you bought your own books, and now we buy our books, and you have bus service. They didn't used to have, in earlier days, bus service, and
I don't remember buying a book at Allen School. So I think it just started about the time I got there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Jack Cunningham?
I remember that name.
Okay, you don't. He had a parts place down at the corner of 3rd and. Well, no, he had one down on South Lee Highway. He worked at the Hart's Auto Parts place down at 3rd at Church, I think, at some place.
Yeah, 3rd Street South.
We talked about Foster's Auto Parts. Who was the Fosters?
You know, I did not know them very well. There was apparently years ago, the first Foster started that. Then I know for years there was a couple of brothers in there.
Right. Yeah, I can't think of their names.
And I think one of them may be gone now, and it may be the 3rd generation, but they're still out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't think it was just a hole in the wall, but it's a big operation.
Right.
They're wholesalers. They sell a lot of stuff.
Like I say, of course, it was before the Napas and before Victor Hicks's and Central City Auto Parts. We got to give them a plug here today.
That's right.
Victor came on with a show, and when Snake Man and
Fat
Cat and all come
Yeah.
in here and talked about racing cars.
Yeah.
On the street racers. Do you remember the old guys that raced on the street all the time?
Oh, yeah, hot rodders, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Fosters used to do, or they still do, a lot of wholesaling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That business has been in a business.
What was the big music out when you were starting to Bradley High School?
You know, the Jitterbug, you know, the old rock and roll, Sound Cheek, and of course Elvis.
You know, Buddy Holly probably was your era.
Buddy Holly,
Yeah.
Elvis.
This is pre-Beatles and long hair.
So what did your daddy think about that music?
He didn't like the long hair much or the music, but that's true of every generation. You know, that's true of me and this younger generation today.
Yeah, I don't understand some of this music today.
He couldn't understand theirs either.
That's
he'd fuss about the long hair, and you'd look up and say, "Well, look at Jesus' picture up there."
Yeah.
Boy,
You
that
never won
didn't
that
go over
argument.
too well.
That's different.
Now there was Mr. Dunlap had a creamery, and I think Dooley's had a creamery.
Yes.
I didn't remember Dooley's having a creamery.
Yeah, it started as pretty much as a creamery, and they made all their own ice cream back there in the back. And I think as it got towards my era, it was probably more just of an ice cream shop. I think the creameries were pretty much gone away.
I
by the
think
time I got
so
to be
too.
a young boy.
I don't know if Mayfield started, taking all the milk up there, or as transportation got better, the farmers could, sell their milk farther.
Well, yeah, I think that Mayfield's became a lot bigger of a where all the milk went. Yeah.
Let's get this call.
Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, is this the Run and Debbie Old Timey Show?
Yeah, the Old Timey Show. Who's this?
All right. Hey, honey, I know them old car shows start down here at the end of the month.
Yes.
Who do you call, or how do you go about getting a place to put one down there? My daddy died and left me an old Cadillac that I just, got to do something with. So I'm thinking that might be a good venue. But how do you...
My understanding is it'll be the fourth Saturday of the month, and it's just kind of like whoever shows up first, you just get to pick the parking space you want. Terry Marr is in charge of that, and you can... I don't know how you find Terry.
Or just go to Main Street, Cleveland.
Sharon
call Sharon Marr down at Main Street, Cleveland, and she'll put you to the right person or can tell you the rules. I think what Deb says is if you just show up and park your car there, I don't think there's an entry fee to bring your car.
The only limitations is they say please no political signs or that kind of stuff.
But you
of course, that's before I got the Cadillac. I went down there last year, and all the streets were blocked off, and I didn't know. Now that I've got this car on sale, or
I think that fairly close to the police department down there, there's usually somebody operating the entrance there.
And you probably have to get there early. I mean, you probably have to go midday to find your parking space, and then come back later or just stay there. A lot of people stay there all day long, and they just have a big social event.
Yeah.
But I think if nothing else, if you call the city of Cleveland Monday morning and ask them for Sharon Marr's number, Sharon can take care of you.
Right.
I think you're right. What year is the Cadillac?
Oh, honey, it's a 61.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
So it got fins on it?
Daddy bought it new and drove it a few years, and then when Mama died, I don't know, Daddy... Well, it was Mom and Dad's car. When she died, he put it in the blame garage, and he died last November, and it's been, oh, gosh.
What color is it?
Honey, it's real shiny black.
Oh, my.
A 61 one-owner Cadillac.
Yeah, he lives over in Hamilton County, and I had to put it on rollback and get it over here, and had to do some work on it to get it up and running. And
okay.
No, I got no play. I just.
Who is this?
You want $500 for it today?
I don't know what to do with it other than, try to sell it.
Ron's trying to buy it because I love the old Cadillac.
Do you want $500 for it today? I'd pay $500 for it.
Sight unseen.
Oh, I can give you either one. I can give you 2 checks.
Well, I think that's an excellent idea, and I think I would investigate how much it might be worth now. Right. You don't want to sell yourself short, and I think that's a wonderful story, and I think to have a picture of your mom and dad standing by that car with it when you have it for sale down there would be wonderful.
Well, I don't, but my dad had an old 48 Chevrolet, and I do have a picture of him and Mom together with that. And he had on an old white shirt, real thin black tie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mom had on a dress with pearls.
I think that's been the most fun about doing this documentary on the dirt track racing is looking at the old cars.
Right.
And we actually have movies of a lot of the cars running, the 39s and all that stuff. And it's so funny to see 2 cars that get their bumpers hooked together because that doesn't happen anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Well, now, if you take that car down there, I don't know if you'll ever go home with it.
Yeah.
That's
well, at least there's people there that could hook you up with somebody that would really buy it. And I keep telling Ron if he wants to know if I've ever won the lottery, he'll come home and those 2 big red cars that are sitting across from Bradley High School will be sitting in our driveway. Right. The ones with the great big fins on the back of it. Yeah.
It does, yes, ma'am.
All righty.
Yeah, it was one of the early Eldorados. It's a pretty car.
Phew, it's a big car, too.
Yeah,
thank you for
Bye-bye.
listening. Thanks for calling.
Larry, what was your first car?
It was a 1950 Chevrolet Bel Air, automatic. The transmission slipped. There used to be a gentleman in town named Lynn Johnston, and he was the VA officer at the courthouse. Mm-hmm. He had one arm. He was handicapped. And he lived on South Lee Highway. Down as you go down the hill right before you get to Texaco Tom's on the left in that little block house. And he sold ceramics or made ceramics and sold them down there. But he was a very active local politician.
And his
Democrat.
name was what?
Lynn Johnston. He was very active in the Democrat Party and very active in the state party. And he was a friend of my father's. And on my 15th birthday, Daddy was always down there visiting. He took me down there with him one day, and he had it set up. And Lynn said, well, Red, I guess you need a car, don't you? And I said, yes, sir. So he handed me the keys, this old 50 Chevrolet that Daddy had set up. I think Daddy paid $150 for it or something. And I said, well, thank you very much. And he said, well, I guess you need your driver's license, don't you? I said, that'd be nice. Hand me my driver's license.
I can't do that anymore either.
Showed I was 18, not 15. 3 years to the day difference. Took no test, nothing. Drove around for years and years. When I got about 23, I'd go in and they'd show I was 26. I like to never got my age corrected on this thing.
The what color was it?
It was brown, and transmission slipped and just sat there and spun. That was the first one. I think he gave $100 for it. Yeah, but I got it at 15, so I was wealthy.
But you was tickled to death about that, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you could pile a lot of friends in that thing. That had some room in it.
If you hit something, it didn't bend as much as fast either. It's something else to give up first. Now, did everybody have a car? Or, the lady talked about walking, but
it was amazing. When we got to be teenagers, there was a lot of people in East Cleveland drove an old clunker up to Bradley.
So what years would that have been?
Let's see, I would have been 15 and 57.
57. So, yeah, society had started becoming a little bit more mobile at that time. Now, what about TVs? When did you get your first TV at home?
I was the first TV. It was, I remember Frank Clement's famous speech, 1952 Democrat Convention. We had TV then, so I was 10, so we hadn't had it long.
Yeah. And so, was it what all was on TV during that time?
Was it Clement that ran on the school books? You think?
No, it was before him.
Before him.
But by Clement's time, we had the free books, and I can remember seeing the old posters on East Inman, but I can't remember the candidate's name. It was in the late 40s, probably when they first, probably by 1950, they had the free books.
Mm-hmm. And so the TV went off at what time at night?
Well,
11 o'clock, 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
Whenever the old man decided it was going on.
Oh, yeah. You never saw that test pattern.
Back then you had like Jack Benny show and a couple other things.
You did.
It wasn't a 24-hour day.
No. And of course, it's black and white and watch the news, you know. It was, and I'm trying to think what all. We didn't watch a whole lot of TV back then. We stayed outside most times.
There wasn't a lot to watch either. I think the TV stations Chattanooga's were just starting to come on.
Right.
Yeah, so when did you get your first color TV?
I can't even remember that one.
Yeah.
I don't know if they had one before I ever left home.
Now, when did you leave?
I left Cleveland in '63 and went off to college, and I didn't move back till '75. That's when, and I never dreamed I'd be back here.
Where did you live in that time?
I went to college and then graduate school in urban planning, and then I worked for the state planning office for several years. Excuse me. And then Mayor Death Row, who I met the year I got out of high school, I was his office boy, errand boy. When Dixie Foundry bought Magic Shelf, he was in charge of consolidating the sales forces, and I worked for him that summer. And then as I went off to school over the years, I'd write him every once in a while if I had to do a term paper on somebody that was successful. Then I became a young planner, and then he became mayor of Cleveland, and I'd see him once a year at conventions, Tennessee Municipal League conventions. And after 6 or 7 years, he kept asking me to come back here and go to work for him. That's how I got back.
Did you get to come back a lot during that 63 to 75, or? I
did. I come back and visit my parents.
But were you surprised how Cleveland changed over that period of time?
You know, that's so true. I remember when I literally moved back in 75, Joe Edwards, the city engineer, was giving me a tour of the city, and I remember going out Michigan Avenue Road and seeing all those subdivisions and houses, and I said to him, doesn't look like the same city I grew up in. It'd grown a lot.
Yeah, and then, of course, after you got here, I guess that East Inman Street started changing a lot. You know, a lot of the buildings there past Gauld on the left were torn down through urban renewal.
Well, one reason the mayor kept appealing to my emotions, saying that he had some urban renewal money and the housing authority was redeveloping East Cleveland. He knew I grew up there and I could be involved in that. But by the time I got here, they'd pretty much knocked everything down and was too far along to do much to it. And, of course, the community, the diversity changed and people moved to other places and stuff.
There was a lot of black business. You know, the Eveready Cafe was in that structure there. And I can't remember all the things that were down through there.
There was never a large minority population in this community. I think I doubt if you'd have 1,000 in the entire city. Maybe it made up 4 or 5% of the city population.
Yeah, I think the city was at 5% back when I was in the cable business.
That's about right.
And the county, if you add the county into it,
even less than that.
It went to 3%.
That's right.
So, and it's still not much different than that today.
No,
I don't think.
And you know, East Tennessee's hill country. You know.
Go ahead. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
I wanted to ask Larry if the Goat Man ever came to the east side of Cleveland.
Of course he did. Everybody knew the Goat Man. He camped out over around the dump, and he was famous. In fact, I've got his book. I bought a book that somebody wrote about him. He was just a very amazing character. We look forward to him. He comes through here about once a year.
Yeah, he stayed over here on Norfolk Corey Street across from the medical center. I guess I spent about every minute of daylight with him, and late into the night, my mother would come and get me and make me go home. I had to take all my clothes off before she'd let me in the house.
I started to say that odor. I'm surprised you could stay with him all day with that odor coming off of him.
Yeah, he'd let me take his biggest billy goat down to the spring and water it. I thought I was the biggest thing on earth getting to do that. That's a special deal.
I think Alan Jones, somebody may have heard of him around here town. Him and a couple other guys had decided they were going to go spend the night with the Goat Man. You know, that they were going to go out and do that, and I think Mrs. Jones found out about that and sort of stopped Alan from going out living with the goats. I think that's where he is this week. He's down living with the goat man.
He used to camp over around the old city dump somewhere, spend the night when he come through.
I seen him down on Southley Highway down toward McDonald one time, and then of course you could hear him coming before you, or you could hear him and smell him before you saw him, right?
Mm-hmm. You could,
yeah,
you could.
That strange guy.
Jones bought that book you got, Larry, and he found the goat man was in the nursing home down around Macon, Georgia, and he flew down there and had the goat man autograph his book and had his photograph like with it.
I knew he was from somewhere down there in middle Georgia.
Yeah, he was quite the character. I go places now and I see what I consider young people, but they weren't even born when the goat man came around. And I started telling them the story of it, and they don't even believe me. I said, Google it up. He's on the internet. And I think he's just an amazing person.
Oh, he was famous.
Chas McCartney is his real name.
That was his name. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know, when he got older and he had stopped traveling, he tried to go to. He fell in love with Morgan Fairchild, the actress.
Yes.
So he hitchhiked out to California and was going to get her and bring him back as his wife. And he got out there and got mugged, and he just hitchhiked back and gave up on Morgan Fairchild.
The last thing I saw about him was in the newspaper. He married a young lady about 1/3 his age, and it had her picture. She was really attractive. She's about 25. Of course, he's about 78 or 80 or something. Anyway, I love the goat man. I spend every minute of daylight with him, and I can't believe Jones was going to spend a night because he was right there by my side. I might have been one of the ones that was going to camp out.
It may have been.
But I don't remember that incident because I know my mother would have put a stop to it.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm enjoying the program. I kind of wish old Jimmy Armstrong had made it, Larry.
Well, you know, I do too. I could have used the help.
Oh, we love Larry.
You know,
being
this
here.
this radio is so scary. Just scares some people off, don't it?
That might have been it. All right, bye.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, bye-bye.
I want to say thanks to Bud Davis, who just came in and said he worked over at one of the church offices there on Central Avenue for years, and he just gave me a yo-yo that apparently would be like something that they'd give away at, you know, as
1964.
And it says on it, Cleveland Casket Company, 1901 to 1964, Cleveland, Tennessee.
Very nice.
That's
very nice.
That's going
Thank
in a
you so
shadow
much.
box in my
That's
game
very
room
nice.
with
Very
that
nice.
picture of the casket company.
Very nice.
Very excited.
1964. That's when it went down.
So that solves the mystery right there. It is on the yo-yo. We would never thought to look on the yo-yo.
So when you was young and your boys, you talk about going down to the Princess Theater, and you went to the Bohemia too, I imagine?
Yes.
Yeah, now was the rats as big as they say?
Well, it was pretty dark and dungy in there, but we usually went to the Princess.
Mm-hmm. And then was places like the Cleveland Hotel was still up.
Cherokee Hotel.
Cherokee, then what was it? The Cleveland right there across the street. It burned in the 60s, I believe.
Yeah, the one where Merchants Bank sits.
Yeah.
Was it Ocoee or Cleveland?
Ocoee. That's the old Ocoee.
Okay, Ocoee, yeah.
I believe they just tore it down. The one that Ron's talking about was across from Chase Appliance, I believe.
That's correct.
Yes.
That's correct.
And then, of course, the Teddy Bear was down there. Was the Teddy Bear restaurant around when you was a young boy?
Yeah, it probably got there when I was a teenager or something. Of course, Spot's where we went.
Oh, yeah.
Went to Spot.
And
We
then
went
the
to
Frosty. You know, I was over
You know,
amazed.
even as a young teenager, fellas like Larry could go in and shoot pool in the pool halls,
Right,
even as
right.
fairly young.
But, of course, there were pool halls everywhere, but the one the young kids hung out at was Bob's.
Bob's.
Across from the jockey lot, and the older people hung out at Georgie's or Mac's up there near the Spot.
Okay.
Birthday for Mr. Big G Eddie.
Hey, go ahead there, caller.
Happy birthday to Fast Eddie today.
happy
yeah.
birthday, Fast Eddie.
How old is
Okay.
he?
I don't know, probably 59.
I think 61, I think is how old he is.
I got him beat. I remember the goat, man. I like to watch him go up the road, too. Keep going, Ronnie. I'm listening.
Thank
All right,
you.
Thanks, bye-bye.
We would be down at Cohutta at or Red Clay with my grandma's, and you would see the dust coming up off the road very slowly. You knew it wasn't a car, and then you could hear the clanking, and then you could see the goats, coming in. As he passed in front of her house, you could smell the smell, and he'd go down there and stay at Farmer's Lake.
I want to go back and talk about the assembly a little bit. You know, on the day that they're on the week of assembly, it become a carnival over there. Really,
It really was a
You know,
carnival.
they closed down the streets and they people set up all kind of little booths outside.
They
I
did.
know Mr. Dooley set up snow cones outside.
Right.
And
I worked for some guy from Tellico came down with his little pop-up, and he sold cotton candy and that kind of stuff, and I worked for him over there.
And
so did you get paid
Schultz,
or all the cotton candy you could eat?
No, they paid you a few coins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Fats Schultz talks about, sitting out soup. I mean, they sold soup on the side of the street out there.
It was a carnival. It's a good way to describe it. Just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people everywhere. And everybody in that whole area would rent out a room at their house. And wasn't enough motels to handle them. And like I said, in some cases, those people became lifelong family members.
Now, I guess M.A. Thomason would have been the overseer at that time. A.J. had been dead probably some time, or
I know. Let's see.
When did A.J. die? I can't
That's
remember.
a good question. It was M. It was M, yeah.
Yeah, and my dad talked about going in there, and he would said that they would pass around tubs, and M.A. or if A.J., Dad's a little older, he would have said, fill this up with $5 bills, and the tub came back filled with $5 bills and $10 bills and $20 bills, and then the presentation of the flags or the colors or the flags was a big deal, and the
speaking of
what
all
was
of
the band that come in and marched all the time? The
Bahamas.
Bahama band.
Well,
brass band or something.
Yeah.
And Avery talks about playing drums with Edge. They got local kids to help play the drums and stuff there. All of this reminds me that at Fields of the Woods, for the whatever year, many, many years, they're going to have an Easter celebration this year, and I know some folks will want to check on that. And another interesting thing going on is down at Red Clay State Park on May the 2nd, there's going to be a reenactment. The Civil War soldiers are going to be camped out down there, but they're inviting the area scouts and scout leaders to come and camp beside the reenactors. And I think that will turn a lot of those kids into historians. But if you're a scout leader and you haven't heard that yet, you're hearing it right here, and to call probably Melissa Woody at the Chamber of Commerce to arrange that.
Another big reenactment will be down at Tunnel Hill, and they have a pretty big one there. And if you go down those 2 days, you can get there early and walk through the camps, and they all try to camp like the soldiers would. Every once in a while you'll see a styrofoam cooler, but
well, and down at Red Clay, May 3rd, I believe is when it is.
Yes.
They're going to be shooting the cannon first thing in the morning and about lunchtime too, and there's going to be all kinds of things down there that day. So for you folks living down in the valley down there, just get ready for the cannon fire.
Red Clay State Park's probably the best kept secret in this town.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
And it looks like
I think the success in Charleston with getting Charleston and the National Park Service involved up there is going to help Blythe's Ferry, which is another well-kept secret. You folks need to go out and see Blythe's Ferry. The pink dogwood blossoms are in bloom out there, and it's a gorgeous place just to stand and look at the river, and you get to see the site there for the memorial camp
all
too.
of Bradley County, when it comes to the Cherokee Indians, is just a well-kept secret, except to us more than anybody else. Go ahead, call you live on Old Town Cleveland.
Yeah, Larry.
Larry, who is this? Who is this?
It's Bill. Let me get away from radio a minute. Okay. Goatman used to stay up right beside the old 64 truck stop.
Uh-huh.
And I was a kid. I still live over here, and I remember going up there. And he'd stay a couple of days. And he had more goats than Orphan Annie.
I'm sorry, what did you say your name was?
Bill.
Bill.
Yeah, I always heard he was a rich man. Was
he kept it well hidden.
Not really. I think he was just a religious guy, and his first wife and kids traveled around that way, and basically all he owned was the goats. When he died, he had an old school bus down in Georgia. I can't remember the name of the city. Him and his son lived in an old school bus on a old abandoned looking lot.
Yeah.
Somewhere down there in middle Georgia, around Macon or somewhere.
Well, that's what all us kids said back then, rumor got around he was rich.
Yeah.
Chose to look that way.
And he may have been, and we don't know about it, but don't know about it.
Well, he definitely chose it that way.
Bill, the rumors about me being rich are false also. Thought I'd pass that on.
Hey, one more thing.
Go ahead.
that lady that called in a while ago about Cecil K. Wood,
Mm-hmm.
the taxi cab driver.
Yes.
Is he the one that got killed up in Polk County years ago when I was a kid?
I don't know. Linda would have to call in and let us know because I don't know that.
I remember a Cecil K. Wood getting killed. He was taxi cab. Go up Cherokee Corners in Polk County, go left on a bridge. And the guy that killed him's brother lived right up the street from us.
Oh, okay.
I was curious about that.
Okay. Well, she might call back and let us know.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill. Deb here on line's reminding us that the book about the Goat Man is available over at the Five Points Museum, and if you happen to go in there to pick it up, tell them that you heard it right here on Old Town Cleveland.
Right. And I forgot the name of it, but yeah, it's the only book about the Goat Man. It's a pretty good book.
It is. I've got it, and I've read it.
Yes.
You know, I like it because it's just real simple to read, and it's got some good pictures in it.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, and
wow, 2 hours is already just about clicked off here, Ron. That's pretty amazing. Let's get this caller.
Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Ron, who wrote the book on the Goat Man?
Oh, I have no idea.
There's some gentleman from down there in Georgia who wrote it about him.
I remember when the Goat Man used to come through LJ, and he'd park down there at the river for the night, and these old boys went down there and got his goats drunk.
That's a waste of good liquor right there.
Were they using your corn liquor?
No, it was just a bunch of little mean boys went down there, got them goats drunk, and I think it got him drunk. And it was funny.
Okay, Red. Well, you shouldn't have wasted your liquor that way.
It wasn't my liquor.
Thanks, Red.
Bye-bye.
You just never know what you're going to hear right
No,
here.
you don't.
Yeah, but that's we love
That's all right.
we love the stories.
Spontaneous.
Yeah, we like it. We like it a lot.
So what place haven't we talked? What did you remember? What was Mr. Howard that ran a little store down in the old field? Do you remember who that was? T.A. Howard.
There was a constable. They called him Paddlefoot Howard. So only one I remember.
no.
He walked all. They called him Paddlefoot. He walked all over East
You
Cleveland.
know, I think that's the thing is that everybody had a little store within walking distance of their house.
Yeah, they did. They had to because everybody went to the store about every day or every other day.
The refrigeration wasn't as good
No.
then. Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
This is Cecil K. Wood's daughter, and
Hey.
she was robbed and killed by 4 men.
Oh, I'm sorry. So that was right.
Uh-huh.
What year was that?
1964.
Oh, that was early. Yeah.
And that was a big story because not many people were, robbed or killed here then because, it's a good town, and they thought black people did it, but the black people were, his friends.
Right.
They helped him in business and everything. But,
Did anyone ever go to jail?
well, they went to jail, but one of the governors released the 2 oldest. One's on not too long after they went, and one died in jail for other robberies, and one lives in Etowah right now. So they weren't punished that much. And
Ron's always talked about writing a book about murders and things that happened here or unsolved mysteries, and I'm definitely making a notation over here about his name.
Yeah, well, they put his name in a national magazine. We have pictures of that and where his car was found and all that kind of stuff. That Sheriff Cannon sold his history to a national magazine. So
yeah, we found that's happened a couple of times, and but we're real sorry about that, and we appreciate you calling back in with the facts.
Now, was he murdered in Polk County?
Yeah, they wanted him. As far as I know, it was Polk County where they killed him. But
did they hire him as a driver to take him up there, and then got him up there?
yes,
Oh, okay.
yes, they told him they wanted him to take him somewhere, and I'm not sure if he was found in Polk County or the men were from Polk County, or some of them were. But I'm kind of thinking it was out on off 64 Highway where they found him, and I'm not sure if it was in Polk County or not. I was thinking it was Bradley County, but anyway, he was robbed and killed because they knew he had money, and they had planned to do it the week before. And his brother went to pick him up, and they knew Daddy had the money, to pay his employees that night. So they waited until the next.
So how much money did he have on him?
He didn't. They didn't get all of it. He had some more, but he carried his money on him, and people knew it, and they shot him with his own gun.
Oh.
He always had a gun under the
seat. Mm-hmm.
Slit his wrist, and
well, that's sad.
That's very sad, and you're right. That kind of thing didn't happen here much.
Yeah.
Thank you, dear. Thanks for being a listener, and thanks for calling in. Okay, I got a little information here. America's Goat Man by Daryl Patton is the name of the book that's at the Museum Center. Thank you, Debbie, for putting that online. And T.J. Howard had the store.
T.J., yeah.
And Paddlefoot was Bird Dog's great-grandfather.
Okay.
Out of the Haney family.
Mm-hmm. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Yeah, this is Ron Lee.
Hey, Ron.
Happy's brother.
Yes, sir.
Oh, hey.
And wasn't those guys' name Walden?
Well, we don't know, but I'm sure Linda
On
knows.
the murders?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, that's the first I heard the story.
Oh, okay. I heard that the people's name was Walden. I don't know. Anyway, Happy's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know, and we sure do miss him.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye. Well, Larry, that 2 hours went by pretty darn quick, didn't it?
Sure did.
Now, next Sunday, not this Sunday, folks, but next Sunday, up at Calhoun, at the big cemetery in Calhoun, they're going to be marking the graves. I believe it's of 5 soldiers from the War of 1812. And that should be really something to see, because usually the folks that do all those reenactments and stuff come out, and it's going to be really interesting. So that's not this Sunday, but the next Sunday. We have to say happy 2nd birthday to our little grandbaby tomorrow. Avery's having her 2nd birthday.
There's an important day tomorrow. Avery will be 2 tomorrow. So
her grandpa still can't say no.
No, that's not my job to say no. And mark on your calendars right now. Stop what you're doing. Go mark your calendars. April 17th at the Museum Center here at 5 Point at 6 o'clock. The premiere, the world premiere, literally, of the it's a Dirt Track Life documentary. It's an hour and 20-minute documentary about dirt track racing from Gatlinburg to Dawsonville. There's Hall of Fame drivers interviewed in there, and a lot of their history has been forgotten. And there's stories about moonshiners. There's stories about dirt track racing, the fights.
On the road.
Yeah. You name it, we're talking about it, though. So, and next week, we're going to have Dave Wright on here, and who's in the documentary. And he was a driver from this area, won a lot of races. His uncle, Bob Wright, made the
Chevrolet engines
for a lot of the NASCAR guys in the early days. So
Gene Norris used to race.
Gene Norris, we got him in
we
there.
We have a good picture of Gene too.
Deb, talk there for a minute here.
Man.
Tell us what else. Talk for a minute, Deb.
Oh, I'm asleep.
I'm doing something.
I'm reading.
Well, don't do that.
Next week, of course, is racing, and the week after that, we're going to have Neil Tipton on with Willie Gregg, and they're going to be talking about the old 5 Points downtown. Now, if you enjoyed Larry's stories today, he survived this just fine. And we would like to invite you to come on and talk about your community and your neighbors and your mom and dad. And if you'd like to do that, you can always call us just after the show goes off. Right now, we're booked well up into May and got some people looking at those dates. We're trying to get our fireman friends to come back in. We've got Underground Chattanooga coming the last week in April.
And also wanted to say that on about Tuesday, this entire program will be on YouTube. So if you'll go to our Facebook page, Old Town Cleveland, I'll put a link out to it, and then you can watch it anytime and listen to it. And but folks, I always say every week, get those pictures out from under the bed and out of the closet and out of the drawers, and get your grandparents and your moms and dads and aunts and uncles to get you a name and put it on a sticker and put it on the back of the picture, and because it isn't history till you do that. We'll always know about Pearl Harbor, but Deb?
We may not remember Aunt Pearl. See you guys next week.
That's right.
Bye-bye.
Hey, folks, we'll see you next week here on Old Town Cleveland.
That's good.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
You need